Hi, I'm Pete Schellenbach, Combi Culinary Specialist with Vulcan. Today I'm going to be cooking with the Vulcan Minijet Combi. It is our smallest combi, but it is full-featured with programmable touchscreen, auto wash, all of the features that you would get in a larger combi, just in a smaller countertop size. Our Vulcan Minijet Combi. It is a space-saving version of our combi. As you can see, it is a touchscreen model and has multiple features that are very useful for virtually any operation. I envision this size of a machine going into a small cafe, something where you want to do smaller batches more often so that you have fresher food coming out all the time. One thing I will point out is this particular Minijet is underneath a self-contained condensate hood that will help with steam removal from the atmosphere in the kitchen. Today I'm going to be covering 3 modes of the Minijet in the control panel. The first one is automatic mode, the second one is ABC mode, and the last mode is the Minijet manual jet mode, where you have more control. It's more of a traditional manual mode where you can control all the parameters of the cooking. That means that someone who is a more seasoned chef with a combi is going to be able to dial in some very specific controls, and you're going to be able to see me do that later on with one of the dishes I'm making today. It's fully programmable in that mode. All of the various settings of the oven are available to you in that mode. Drying, for example, we'll be able to use the probe in that mode to get a core temperature, so we know that we're cooking to a safe level. Jet mode is like I said, it's the more traditional manual mode, whereas ABC mode in the manual mode covers some of the decision making for you. It's a patented process that automatically adjusts the humidity level based on the temperature of the cabinet. If you are unfamiliar with cooking in a combi, but you know that you want to cook things in a combi for all of the reasons that you would, the increased speed, the increased food quality, the better moisture retention, all of those things, but you're not sure how to do that, ABC mode is for you, because that makes it completely simple for the operator. They simply set the temperature that they want to cook, how long, and the ABC mode will calculate the correct humidity level for you. In the ABC mode, one of the things that we like to say is that it has zero fear factor, right? There's no anxiety about using a combi when you're in ABC mode. When we're in automatic mode or auto mode, that is where all of the saved recipes, all of the recipes that you have worked on and dialed in exactly right when you save them, then they get saved into the automatic mode so that you can access them easily. It's a great mode of the oven to operate in if you are a multi-unit operation, a small chain that wants consistent product and across every location. So it's very easy to transfer recipes from one machine to the other just with a USB stick. And so for a multi-unit operator, that auto mode is a great place to start. So to start out, I'm going to go into the auto mode, and in the auto mode, I'm going to go to a specific setting called multi-product. Multi-product lets me cook multiple products, different types of product, in the same environment at the same time. There are 3 basic elements to combi cooking. It's time, temperature, and humidity. And in the multi-product mode, the temperature and the humidity are set. They are locked down, so the only remaining variable is time. So what I have is a very stable environment in which to cook, and then my products are going to come out at different times based on how they cook. That's something that I'm going to set ahead of time, and I've already preset some items in here. And I'm going to show you a basic, like a breakfast service, the kind of breakfast service that you might have at a small hotel, the kind of breakfast sandwich that you might get at a little cafe on your way to work, that kind of thing. So I'm going to use the multi-product section of the auto mode to show you that. And I'm going to be cooking some breakfast potatoes, some bacon, some sausage, some eggs, and toasting off some English muffins so I can build a breakfast sandwich with that. Another element of the in the auto mode is called multi-level, and multi-level is separate timers, separate tray timers for each shelf. It's similar to multi-product, but it's not specific to one of the products that I already have saved in the memory. So I can have the oven set up at a certain temperature and humidity, and then just manually set the timers as I move food in and out. It would be the kind of thing that you would use for an a la carte operation where you just needed, like, say, for example, a finishing oven, where you'd put a product in, you know it was only going to be in for about 3 minutes, you'd put it in, set a 3-minute timer, but the next product that you needed to finish might go longer, so it would be very easy to just set a longer timer. I'm not going to be cooking in that mode today, but I just wanted to let you know about that. So here's a breakfast sandwich made with sausage, bacon, a sunny side up egg, cheese, an English muffin, a little arugula on there, sitting next to some breakfast potatoes. Here's a complete breakfast with 2 eggs, sausage, bacon, breakfast potatoes, some English muffin, some toasted English muffin on the side of that for a complete breakfast. One of the things that's great about this size of a combi is that it's such a space saver, right? This is countertop size. It can absolutely sit almost anywhere in an operation. It is UL certified to be ventless. We have a condensate hood on top of this model. Some jurisdictions will require a condensate hood over certain pieces of equipment that produce steam. So that's what we have here, just a self-contained unit. I'm gonna go into one of the manual modes. We have 2 manual modes in the Minijet. The first one I'm gonna talk about is the ABC mode. If you're familiar with Vulcan's ABC Combi, the ABC7, the thing that is so fantastic about that combi is that it automatically sets the humidity. What that means is, for people who don't have much experience with combis, but have heard of them, have heard that they produce food faster or better, for those people who have never worked on a combi before, the ABC takes care of the one thing that no one understands, and that's the humidity level. So we have patented a method for having the machine automatically set the humidity level based on the temperature that you're cooking at. The first thing I'm gonna do in the ABC mode is I'm gonna cook some cookies. I don't know what the right humidity setting for cookies should be. Luckily, the ABC mode in the Minijet is gonna take care of that for me. So I'm gonna go to the screen and I'm gonna press manual, and it defaults to the ABC mode here. I'm gonna cook my cookies at 325 degrees. And if you can see, the humidity automatically sets for 40%. My cookies are going to cook for 10 minutes, so I set that, and once the machine comes up to temperature, I'll load my cookies, and we're gonna end up with great results. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and load these cookies in now. I mentioned that we have this patented system for determining the humidity level, and what that is built upon is a chart. We call it the humidity chart. It shows exactly what humidity level for what temperature is ideal. What that means is that the combi becomes an extremely versatile piece of equipment. At the lower end, I can do things like poaching and steaming. Then I move up into baking, and at the higher temperatures, I can do grilling, I can do oven frying, I can do finishing like one would do in like a salamander, where just like a broil, it's extremely high heat with very little humidity to get browning on food. So I've got the full spectrum of temperature and humidity to work with in a combi. And in ABC mode, the Minijet takes care of those parameters for me. Here are some chocolate, coconut, and macadamia nut cookies that we did in the ABC mode. In the Minijet, we have rack guides, and the rack guides are the sides of the cabinet that hold the pans. We have new rack guides in this Minijet that are designed to hold 4 pans, and by holding 4 pans in there, it has the maximum amount of airflow around the product, and you get the greatest results. This new rack guide is going to be available starting in the 4th quarter of this year. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do some roasted vegetables. I've got some butternut squash and apples that are tossed with some seasonings and a little bit of sage. Now, I would normally roast those at about 425 degrees. So in ABC mode, when I change the temperature to 425 degrees, you'll notice that the humidity level has automatically dropped down to 10%, which is enough to keep some moisture in the cabinet so that my speed stays high. I get faster cooking, but it's not so much that it'll prevent the browning that I want on the roasted vegetables. So I'm gonna load the vegetables in to roast, and I'm gonna set my timer for 12 minutes. Here's some roasted butternut squash and apples that I was able to produce in the ABC mode, where I didn't have to set the humidity level. I just let the Vulcan Minijet determine the proper humidity for me. All right, so I'm gonna show you now the Minijet's jet mode. Like I said, it's the manual mode that is more traditional in that I can set all of the parameters inside the cabinet, fan speed, whether I'm drying the cabinet or not, all the parameters that I might need to use to dial in a recipe exactly what I want, the way I want it. For this recipe, I'm also going to use the core temperature probe to make sure that I've got my chicken cooked up to a safe temperature. And what I'm making is a stuffed chicken breast. Inside the chicken breast, I've got some Boursin cheese, some prosciutto, and some oil-cured tomatoes inside. And I'm gonna actually serve that on the roasted squash, the roasted butternut squash and apples that I made before, with a little bit of brown butter on it. To set up the unit, I'm gonna go to manual mode. This time I'm gonna press it again to move it over to jet mode. And now I'm gonna go Combi, 400 degrees. I'm gonna set my humidity level because now I have to set the humidity level. I'm gonna set the humidity level down at 20%, and I'm going to tell the machine that I wanna use the core temperature probe, and I want my chicken cooked up to 165 degrees. So I'll dial that up to 165, okay? Now, to insert my core temperature probe, I'm gonna go right down to my interface there, open the door and put the chicken in. And I'm going to use my core temperature probe into the chicken breast, inside, make sure I get a good safe temperature. Close the door right around the probe like that. Got the door closed, the temperature probe just goes right through the door gasket. The gasket seals against the probe, and now we're cooking that chicken. I mentioned before how space-saving this is. This is a countertop unit that requires 0 clearance on either side, and in the back, it's got recessed utilities, which means that the utility connections don't stick out behind the oven. They're actually recessed into the oven, so I need less clearance behind the oven as well. The Minijet is stackable, and in this configuration with the condensate hood, I can stack and still use one condensate hood. They are available left or right door hinged, and for anybody watching who really needs a Minijet right now, they're in stock. So as far as capacity goes, with this rack guide configuration, I can go up to 4 hotel pans, 2.5-inch hotel pans, and then I can also go 4 half sheet trays. When we're talking about placing one of these into an operation, they could be customer facing, they could be in a small cafe, coffee shop environment where you're doing pastries, for example, croissants or Danish, that kind of thing. Small sandwiches, you've already seen it do breakfast sandwiches, so you could set it up to just rotate through sandwiches through the course of the morning and then into lunch. It could be the kind of thing that could be placed out in a server station to do fresh bread for every table that walks in, so that you could advertise that every table gets its own fresh loaf of bread because you could do a par-baked bread in here in just a matter of minutes. So it's extremely versatile as far as where it could be placed in an operation. Really, because of its versatility, it is perfect for, the way I see it is sort of like plugging a hole, right? If you've got a little glitch in your operation somewhere, there's probably a combi that can fix it, and because of this one's size, it can go anywhere in the restaurant to fix a problem with an operation. The Minijet doesn't always have to be on a stand as well. It could go onto a heated holding cabinet. It could go onto a Vulcan convection oven. We have other options. It could go onto a refrigerated base, frankly. So the ways that this can go into an operation, can slot in, are pretty much limitless, like limited only by your imagination or your restaurant's needs. The Minijet is available in several different electrical configurations depending on what the needs are of your operation. This one not available in gas, it's electric only. The rest of our Vulcan Combi line is available gas or electric. With the Vulcan Minijet, we've thought of everything, including serviceability. The Minijet is extremely easy to service. The serviceable parts are on a drawer that slides out for easy access, so service providers can get in, service the unit quickly, and get everybody back up and running as fast as possible. So I mentioned that this mode has all of the controls that I would need to fine-tune a recipe. Once I get that recipe fine-tuned, I'm able to save it, name it, I can attach a picture to it if I wish, and then my staff can replicate this recipe every single time. Again, repeatability is everything in an operation. My guests want to know that every time they come in, when they order my Boursin stuffed chicken, it's gonna be exactly the way that I made it this time. And because I can save the recipe, I'm going to be able to have that consistency with my product. Another nice thing about the Minijet is that because it has an auto-reversing fan, I get very even baking front to back, left to right in the cabinet, so it doesn't matter where I put my product, I'm able to get the same results no matter where it is in the Minijet. Here's a Boursin and prosciutto stuffed chicken breast that I made using the manual jet mode in my Minijet Combi. By using the core temperature probe, I know that the internal temperature of the chicken was up to a safe service temperature, and I was also able to make this beautiful crunchy crust on the outside. Probably the last and one of the most important features of the Minijet is that it is self-cleaning. Everybody knows that to keep a piece of equipment working correctly, it's got to stay clean. And if it's difficult to clean, people simply won't do it. But with the Minijet, it's automatic cleaning, and I can show you real easily how it's set up to do that. I go over to the toolbox. It defaults to the cleaning screen. I can tell it that I want to do a light clean, a medium clean, or an intensive clean there. And all I do is hit start, and it will enter a cleaning mode and clean itself. Anytime you have a piece of equipment that produces steam, like a combi oven, you're going to need some sort of water filtration. That water filtration is going to be dependent on what your water quality is at your location. We recommend that you test the water at your location, and then Vulcan can help provide the proper filtration for your area. Thanks for joining me for this little segment about the Minijet, our fully featured combi that's shrunk down to a countertop size.